Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Las Vegas up against the Denver Broncos, NFL Week 1. I am Mitchell Renz, and coming up on today's show, let's give you a Week 1 preview. Football is so back, and if you're ready for some Raiders football, can I get some Raiders spam down below? Because I know one thing. I know that the Broncos were bad last season, but anytime you go up against an AFC West rival with Sean Payton now and Russell Wilson, oh, man, we got to be able to bring the energy. I know this, though, also. Anytime I drop a video like this, you get a lot of Broncos fans. You get a lot of the opposing team in the comments. And I want to make sure that we still dominate the comments. I want to dominate it just like we tried at Raiders home games. So predict this score for me right now. Denver Broncos up against the Las Vegas Raiders as it stands right now that I'm recording this video. Broncos 3.5-point favorites, and the over-under is set at 44. So not only do I want to be breaking down some of the keys to victory on the offensive side of the football, I also want to be breaking down some of the keys to victory on the defensive side. So what I try to compile today is give you my top 5 things that I want the offense and defense to do, and I believe if they do them, you're going to come away with a just win, baby. Let's go to the very first one, and this is always the obvious one. You got to be able to protect Jimmy Garoppolo, but this doesn't just fall on the offensive line. Yes, the offensive line needs to keep Jimmy G protected. I also think that an easy way to protect Jimmy is to get the ball out quickly. Get your receivers open fast. And the other reason that you could probably protect him is running the football solid or effectively, constantly, whatever the word is, with Josh Jacobs. All of those things are going to protect Garoppolo. Colton Miller, Jermaine Illumina are going to be your starting tackles, and Dylan Parham, Greg Van Roten at right guard, Andre James at center. This is a top 10 overall offensive line unit. I'm excited to see them get to work against Denver. Next thing coming up here in order to get a win is you got to feed Jacobs. And I know I've been on this show before, and I've said I'm worried to see how much work the Raiders give Jacobs because he wasn't there for OTAs, minicamp, training camp in the preseason. But to me, though, now it's the opportunity where you got to put some of that other stuff that maybe you were upset with, you got to put on the back burner because there's only one thing that matters now, and that's winning football games. You can be confident in Zamir White. You can be confident in Brandon Bolden. You can be confident in Amir Abdullah. But none of those guys are even close to what Jacobs gives you. And then on top of that, Jacobs has feasted against Denver. I'm pretty sure Denver calls Josh Jacobs daddy because of all the success that this young man has against the Broncos. Keep Jimmy Garoppolo upright, feed Josh Jacobs, and then maybe this one might be the biggest. You got to convert in the red zone. The Raiders last season did a good job getting to the red zone, but then they ranked 27th in the league in converting in the red zone. If you're only getting field goals and your team that you're going up against is getting touchdowns, you're going to lose more than you win. And this Raiders team has a lot of talent on offense. I anticipate that they're going to have plenty of opportunities to move the football down the field. But once you get in the red zone, it is time to convert, especially on the road. Let's go to the next thing here I want to see. I want to see tons of pre-snap motion. I want to see DeAndre Carter and Trey Tucker just running back and forth, back and forth. I want to know if the defense is playing man. Are they playing zone? Where the Mike linebacker is going to be, because all that also ties back in to protecting Jimmy Garoppolo. One of the things that I love that Kansas City used to do with Tyreek Hill is Tyreek used to go flying all over the football field, and then they would call hike. I want to see the Raiders get Trey Tucker working early in that regard, and then that also helps out Davante realizing, hey, man, am I going to have a one-on-one opportunity here? It's also going to realize, hey, is there going to be safety coverage over the top? When you get players on defense moving around, it creates a lot of mismatches. I want to see tons of pre-snap motion. And then the final thing here is this. You got to stay aggressive in the second half. I don't know if the Raiders took their foot off the gas pedal a lot last season. All I know is if the Raiders are up 1 point, 10 points, 30 points in the second half, there's a reason why you had the lead going into halftime. We don't need to do anything crazy. Far too often I thought that McDaniels went too conservative, and we got to also call a spade a spade. Derek Carr crumbled in the second half of games. It is a clean slate. I don't want to talk about DC anymore. I don't want to talk about 2022 anymore. All I want to know is that this Raiders team is going to come ready to play in the second half, because if you don't think that that's the top storyline going into every single half, you are absolutely, positively crazy. We still got some keys to victory for the defensive side of the football coming up here, but our sportsbook partner, BetUS, is continually changing the game. And if you want to get the best deal on the internet, use promo code Raiders125 at chatsports.com/Raiders. That gets you 125% deposit bonus, which means if you put down $100 for first-time depositors, you're going to get $125 for free to bet with. In fact, you can actually put down up to $500, and they're going to give you $625 for free to bet with. The deal that I'm going to be making this weekend, I got two of them for you. I'm betting the over for the Raiders-Broncos game, and I'm also taking the Raiders to just win outright. If you just want to have the Raiders covering 3.5, which means that they are 3.5-point underdogs as it stands right now, you can do that. But I believe that this team's going to win. Broncos, lots, and I mean lots of injuries to be able to deal with. So now coming up here on the show is the defensive keys for the Silver and Black. Offense is fun to talk about. Fantasy football has put a lot of conversation starters on the offensive side of the football. But I always say this, man. When I sit down and I meet Raider fans in person, I know the die-hard fans. Like, I'm talking like this guy bleeds silver and black. The guys that know a lot talk to me about defense first and then make their way to offense, because it is what is needed to be fixed for a very long time. So the first thing that we got to do is get after Russell Wilson. Maxx Crosby can't do it by himself. Crosby last year against Denver had 4 sacks and was just an absolute menace. But guess what? I'm going to be looking at Tyree Wilson. Chandler Jones, how about you take some of that anger that you got going on right now working at a public gym and you take it out on Sean Payton and Russell? Malcolm Kuntz, I need more from you. The big guys up front, I need more from you. If it is just the Condor show, yeah, it can be successful. But in order to make this defense top 20, top 15, hell, if we're a top 10 defense this year, I don't know what I'm going to think. Raiders got a top 10 defense. They're winning more than 10 games. You can freaking book it. But the key to get after the Broncos is to get after Russell Wilson and make him flustered. Because if he starts looking bad, a lot of people are going to be like, oh shit, maybe Sean Payton should have stayed retired. Let's go to the next thing here. You don't let Courtland Sutton beat you. From what it is reporting right now, and I talked to a few Broncos insiders, and they are a lot more unconfident that Jerry Jeudy is going to be able to play in this Week 1 game, which means it's Courtland Sutton. And then after that, they don't have a lot of wide receiver talent due to the amount of injuries that team has sustained. So if you don't let Courtland Sutton beat you, that means you're having a lot of unknown receivers trying to take you down. I can't wait to see Marcus Peters. I can't wait to see Jacorian Bennett. If it was up to me, I would put Peters on Courtland Sutton because I think that that's a really solid matchup overall. But here's the thing. If you take Courtland Sutton out of this game, almost play like a box and one, hell, double team him. I actually like the way that the Raiders match up. And they match up pretty damn well, especially if they're playing man. Let's go to the next thing here. It's make Denver one-dimensional. The area of concern for me is if the Broncos get rolling here, because Russell Wilson, to me, he's at his best when he can start working off play action, and then they get the running game going. If the Raiders get out to an early lead, and then the Broncos are forced to just do a lot more shotgun, not run the football, that allows your big guys up front to pin their ears back and get after Wilson. You make Denver one-dimensional. Russell Wilson at this point of his career, and with that wide receiver room, is not good enough. Take away the running game, make them beat you through the air. The Raiders have a lot better secondary than they do defensive tackles. That's where I want to go. Next thing up here is play press man coverage. I want the Raiders to be physical. I want the Raiders to be in their face, beating up Denver. I loved what I saw from joint practice. I loved from what I saw from a lot of the preseason games. Patrick Graham wants to get physical, and a lot of the players that he brought in this offseason were to bring that physicality, bring that swagger. Well, let's do it. I want to play man when we match up as well as what we do with this Raiders team. Has anybody ever played pickup basketball? When you play in that team, like when Chugs and I play Graph and Wasted, we're playing man. Why? Because we're better athletes. I was going to say superior athletes. Definitely superior athletes. And to me, the Raiders have the better athletes, the better football players. So I want to see some physicality, some press man coverage. That's going to result in some good things. My final thing is this, and some of you might get this, some of you might not. K.I.S.S-style defense. And you're like, what the hell is he talking about? One of my professors in school used to always say, keep it simple, stupid. And it's always stuck with me. And sometimes when you explain things to somebody, sometimes when you just do something, you keep it simple. And Patrick Graham has really tried to, I'm going to use dumb down his defense a little bit, which sounds kind of harsh, but he has made his defense simpler, right? This is a young football team with a lot of new faces out there. And I want my players to not be thinking, but just being athletic and going out there and reacting. So even if you got this whole freaking playbook ready to rock and roll, let's just cut it down a little bit, and let's, instead of trying to do 20 things good, let's do 10 things amazing. That's what I want to see from this Raiders defense. Patrick Graham, the overall unit, keeping it simple, stupid. That's what I want to see. So one more time here are my 5 offensive keys. You got to protect Jimmy G. Let Josh Jacobs feast. Convert in the red zone. Lots of pre-snap motion. Stay aggressive in the second half, Josh. Put your balls on the table and stay aggressive in the second half. And then my 5 defensive keys. Get after Russell Wilson, fluster him. Don't let Courtland Sutton beat you by himself. If you make Denver one-dimensional, take away the running game, that's going to result in some good things. Let's get some press man coverage and keep it simple, stupid. Now, for those that do not know, yes, I am live here right now. I'm going to be live every Tuesday. I'm also going to be live every single Monday on top of that. Bright and early Mondays is going to be one fun show, but we will be live on Mondays, Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to be live for every single Thursday game day, so later shows on Thursday. It's kind of like Thursday happy hour, but this week it's going to be Chiefs-Lions. Be ready to rock and roll with Rolly and I. And then Sunday, it's week 1. It's insane to me that football is freaking back. I can't wait. Make sure you're subscribed for that one because Chugs and I are getting litty-titty on that. Now, before I head on out of here, since we're going to be looking at the Lions and Chiefs game, and we're going to be live for it, who you got? Are you going to go with Detroit, or are you going to be rolling with the Chiefs as it stands right now? The latest update around Travis Kelce is he is doubtful to play in this football game. Travis Kelce doubtful, still no update from the time I am recording with Chris Jones. A lot of unknowns for Kansas City. I still think the Chiefs are the better team because they have Patrick Mahomes. But this game is getting really, really interesting. And whoa, man. If Detroit comes out on top and the Chiefs look like they're in trouble, as soon as blood's in the water, that's where the Sharks feast. So we'll see what ends up happening. Again, we're going to be live, Lions, Chiefs, Thursday night. Hope to see you there.